In this presentation, we're going to talk about your grades at DSST. The objectives of this video are for you to learn how your grades are calculated and understand how to check your grades in Infinite Campus. Understanding how your grades work and keeping an eye on them will help you to be a more successful student. First, let's talk about what grades are and what they mean. You may not have even had grades in elementary school, so this might feel a little different than what you're used to. The purpose of grades at DSST is to measure and share your academic progress with you, your advisor, your teachers, and your family. Grades help us to see your progress towards proficiency on grade level standards and provide information on your work habits and effort. In each of your classes, you will earn a grade of either A, B, C, or F. We don't give D grades at DSST. A grade of A means that you've earned 90 to 100% of possible points. It tells us that you've mastered the material and that your work habits and effort are outstanding. A grade of B means that you've earned 80 to 89% of the available points, that you're doing fairly well with the material, and that your work habits and effort are good. A grade of C means that you've earned between 70 and 79% of the available points. C grades tell us either that you haven't yet completely mastered the material or that your work habits and effort could be better. If you've earned less than 70% of possible points, you'll see an F grade in the class. An F tells us that you need some extra help, either with understanding the material or getting things done and turned in. One way you can think about your grades at DSST is to imagine that it's like baking a beautiful 3-tiered cake. I'll explain what I mean by that throughout this video. At DSST, we divide our school year into trimesters. Trimester 1 runs from August 24th to November 20th. Trimester 2 runs from November 30th to February 26th. And Trimester 3 runs from March 3rd to June 2nd. The gaps in between those dates are due to weekends or breaks. Each trimester is worth a certain percentage of your final end-of-the-year grade. Trimester 1 is worth 20%, Trimester 2 is worth 35%, and Trimester 3 is worth 45%. We understand that sometimes it can be a little rough coming into middle school and figuring out how everything works. So the first and second trimesters are worth a little less to allow for you to get your stride. Here's where the cake metaphor begins. You can think of Trimester 3 as your bottom tier, Trimester 2 as your middle tier, and Trimester 1 as your top tier. They're all important, but each tier is a little bigger as you get towards the bottom of the cake or the end of the year. Next, we'll talk about how your grade is calculated in each individual trimester. During the trimester, your grades on assignments will have different percentages to make up the trimester grade. Practice and participation assignments, such as daily classwork and effort, make up 40% of your grade. Formative assessments, like short quizzes and mastery checks, are worth 20%. Summative assessments, such as big tests and projects, are worth 25%. Interim assessments, which are our end-of-the-year trimester final exams, are worth 5% of your grade. You can think of each of these categories as ingredients that you would need to bake each layer of your cake. Practice and participation is like flour. You need the most of it in your batter. You can think of the formative assessments and summative assessments as sugar and eggs. You don't have quite so much of them in your batter, but they're still important. Lastly, you can think of interim assessments as baking powder. It's worth only a small portion of the batter, but it's still needed in your cake. And so what does this mean for you as a middle school? First, some things are weighted more heavily than other things. However, all of the parts are still important as you move towards the end of the year. And the main thing to remember is that putting in good effort and doing your best every day will lead to academic success. Next, we'll talk about how you can see what your grades actually are and where you stand. At DSST, your advisor will send a progress report to your family every week so that they know what your grades are. You can also check your grades anytime using a website called Infinite Campus. In order to log into Infinite Campus, or IC, simply open Chrome or go to Clever. Click on any teacher's page and choose the Infinite Campus icon. Your username is your student ID number or your lunch number, and your password is your 8-digit birthday. For example, if Mrs. LaPaglia were a student, her student IC password would be 08101985 because her birthday is August 10th, 1985. We do recommend that you save the username and password. I'm going to show you what that will look like on your screen. So again, once you're logged into Clever, you can go to any teacher's page and you'll see the Infinite Campus button. It looks like this. This is just a little bigger. Once you click the IC button, you'll have a screen that looks like this. Again, your username is your student ID number or your lunch number, and your password is your 8-digit birthday. Once you're in, you'll see a screen that looks like this. You won't have this black rectangle on your screen. I've simply blocked that out to protect this student's privacy. On the left-hand side of the screen, you'll see a button that says Grades. If you click that button, it'll pop up with all of your grades in all of your classes. You can click on the blue course title, and it'll take you to that individual class. If you click the Grades tab, you can then see all of your assignments in all of the different categories: practice and participation, formative assessments, and so forth. If you click the plus button to expand, you can see how you did on each individual assignment. One important thing to keep in mind as you're working through Google Classroom and in Infinite Campus. Google Classroom and Infinite Campus are not linked. Your teachers will look at your work in Google Classroom or Pear Deck and give points based on your completion, effort, and mastery of the work. Then they have to enter those grades into IC, just like if you were working in the building on paper. This means that if you haven't shown us that work, you won't earn a grade. And if you click Turn In on a blank assignment with no work done, you'll still have a grade of missing in Infinite Campus, even though it may not show in Google Classroom that you have any work missing. No work, no grade. If you still have questions or you'd like to review some of this information, check in with your advisor or email a teacher or dean. We want to see you succeed, and we're here to help.